We all hate shit meetings. Let's be honest. There's nothing worse than spending time in a meeting going, oh my goodness, this could have been an email, or why am I even here? And that is why I'm doing today's episode, because as a manager, you are no doubt running meetings with your team or stuck in a lot of meetings as well, day to day, wondering how the heck you're going to get the rest of your job done. We are in a meeting crisis. There are meetings for everything, especially now since COVID, when we're living this hybrid life where we've got online meetings, in-person meetings, just lots of meetings. And it's so important that as a manager, you create meetings that matter, meetings that people actually want to turn up to and get something out of. Because if people are turning up to meetings, getting nothing of value, what is even the point? What is the point in having these meetings? And the reason I'm doing this episode is because this is something that actually comes up a lot in my VIP Leaders Leadership Program around managers struggling to get their day-to-day job done because they're in a lot of meetings or trying to get engagement from their people in meetings that they are running. And so I wanted to share how you can make meetings that matter, that people actually want to be a part of and get something out of. Now, what actually makes meetings shit? What makes meetings terrible and makes meetings ones that people don't want to be a part of or go to? First thing is that they're unorganized, they're disorganized, there's no specific agenda, there's no specific talking points or action points that we're actually trying to get out of this time together. So why would I care? If this is so unorganized, why would I be engaged or why would I want to show up? Maybe I'll just decline or say that there's a last minute thing that came up. The incorrect people are in the room to make the decisions or set the actions. We want to make sure that when we have meetings and that the people that are there are the people that need to be there, that actually add value to the conversation and are part of the actions that need to be set or the decisions that need to be made. So if the incorrect people are in the room, what's the point of this meeting? They run too long for the actual purpose of the meeting. Every meeting ideally should only be to discuss 2 to 3 things. You should be able to discuss that in 20 or 40 minutes, right? It's a habit that meetings are either 30 minutes or 60 minutes. That's a habit that we've fallen into, and a lot of things don't actually need to take that long to talk through. Your meetings need to be 2 to 3 action points, 2 to 3 talking points that can be discussed in 20 or 40 minutes, giving people more time back in their day and to be able to help them achieve other things outside of these meetings. Meetings should not be for a cluster of different things to be talked about. Every meeting needs to have a set purpose, a set agenda to make sure that there are set actions that come from it. That is ultimately what we want. Another thing that makes meetings shit is when only certain people end up talking through the majority of the meeting. If there are 10 people in the meeting and only 2 people are doing the majority of the talking, what are the other 8 people doing? Why are they there? If every person in the meeting is not contributing something, not adding some sort of value to the discussion or to the action points, or to the decisions, they should not be there. Simple as that. And the last thing is if the discussions in the meeting only really involve 1 to 2 people or maybe 2 to 3 people, but there are other people in the meeting to make sure we cover our bases, that's a waste of time and it's a waste of people being engaged in that meeting. If this only directly involves 1 to 2 people, only talk to those 1 to 2 people. Don't bring a whole range of different people in just to make sure that they're covered and involved, unless they actually need to be. We are in a crisis of time at the moment. Everyone is saying they don't have enough time, there's too much to do, there's too much to get done. So we need to be more vigilant with our time. We need to be more strict with the time that we give and the way that we spend our time. And such a big part of this is meetings. In the corporate world, in the working world, meetings is the bane of most people's existence. We want to make sure that they actually matter, that they're meaningful. So we want to create meetings that matter. What does that look like? And I'm going to share 6 things that I recommend every meeting that matters has and needs to be focused on. And I want you to really think about which ones are you maybe very good at and which are the ones that you need to spend a bit more work on. Or maybe this is an opportunity to help someone else create meetings that matter. So even if you're listening to this episode and you're like, well, I don't actually create meetings or I don't run meetings, but my manager's actually not very good at this. Maybe this is an episode you can share with them, or maybe these are some things that you can prompt them with to help create better meetings as well. First of all, have a clear agenda that is very specific about the talking points and that there are only 2 to 3 talking points in the meeting. Remember, we want to keep meetings specific to certain things. You don't want this to be a catch-all 22 of like, let's talk about everything under the sun. That's not what we're here to do. This also applies to team meetings. Team meetings can generally be a catch-all, let's have a big discussion, but team meetings still need to be very focused because that helps to keep people engaged and know what we're actually going to talk about and what the purpose of this is. So have a very clear agenda that is very specific on what it is that we're talking about and what are the outcomes that we're looking for. So yes, we want to know what we're talking about, but what are we actually wanting to get out of these meetings? What are we wanting as an action point or as a result? That needs to be clear. So if a talking point is talking about the new tech implementation project, what are you exactly wanting to get out of that discussion? Is it that the timeline needs to be agreed and we need to have 2 running points agreed? Make sure that the outcome that you're looking for is clearly outlined in the agenda so that people know what it is you're working towards. This also helps to keep the conversation on point and make sure that you're actually getting somewhere. The next thing is to send the agenda out at least 24 hours before the meeting. This is a really good opportunity for people to be able to provide feedback on what it is you're proposing to talk about in this meeting. It also makes sure that the people that it's getting sent to are directly involved in that meeting. So if you are looking at discussing points 1, 2, and 3, and 2 people that you sent it to are like, well, I'm not involved in any of those things, so I want to know why I'm being invited to this meeting, there's an opportunity for that to happen before you get to the meeting. We need to be more blunt. We need to be more blunt and straight up about people's involvements in meetings, because I think we've gotten into this habit of we run meetings just because we've always run them, and we invite these people because we've always invited them or because their role has always been involved in this meeting. Well, is that actually still true? Is that actually still relevant? And do they actually still need to be a part of it? We need to be having more of those bolder conversations and actually being open to challenging those things a lot more. So by sending that agenda out at least 24 hours early, make sure that people understand what this meeting's about. They can prepare the points that they need to prepare so that they can actually come and add value to this conversation. And they might be able to say, hey, look, I don't think that I need to be involved in this meeting because of XYZ. I'm going to decline. Right? And then that gives them time back and means that the people in the room are actually the necessary people in the room. The third thing is make sure that only the correct people are in the meeting. Only the people who are actually going to take action, who actually need to form part of the decision-making process. Make sure it's only them in the meeting. No more, no less. I remember attending so many meetings where I'm like, why am I even here? This has nothing to do with my portfolio. I have no value to add to this conversation, and I've literally just wasted an hour of my time that I could have spent doing something else. I've also been at meetings where we're talking about something and we need to make a decision, but the person that needs to help us make the decision isn't in the meeting, either because they weren't invited because it wasn't known that they needed to make the decision, or because they couldn't make it and the meeting wasn't rescheduled. There is nothing worse than that. If you need someone to make a decision, make sure that they are in that meeting. If you need someone to make a specific contribution to progress something, make sure that they are in that meeting. Otherwise, what is the point? We want to make sure that the correct people are in the meeting so that the meeting can be useful, so that we can actually make progress. No one should leave a meeting thinking, what the hell was that about? Or what was the point of that? Or I just wasted 30 minutes or an hour of my life. No one should walk out of a meeting thinking or feeling that way. And if you are walking out of meetings thinking and feeling that way, that is your prompt. And I encourage you to talk about that with the meeting facilitator, with the person who ran the meeting. Because if we're thinking and feeling those things, but we're not talking about them, we're not creating the opportunity for them to change. So we need to step up. The fourth thing, everyone who is in the meeting and present at the meeting adds value, or they shouldn't be there. No one should go through a whole meeting and literally say nothing. Otherwise, what are they doing there? This is why the agenda is really important, because if you have quieter people, people who don't often speak up in groups or who need more time to prepare their thoughts to make sure it's really well considered, this is often introverted people or people who really like to internally process, which is superpowers. They need that agenda up front or ahead of time so that they can really prepare. But everyone in the meetings needs to be contributing something. Otherwise, why are they there? No one should go through a whole meeting and say not one word. So you want to make sure that everyone who is in the meeting is adding value. If you have one or two people who do most of the talking because they are the loudest ones in the room, they tend to dominate the conversations. As the meeting facilitator, it is your responsibility to make sure that everyone else gets the opportunity to speak, that everyone else gets the chance to share their idea, their input, and make sure that they contribute their value. That is your responsibility to make sure that they do that, not to allow one or two people to dominate the whole conversation and have people walk out not having shared their thoughts. This is so important. If people are going to be in the meeting, make sure that they're adding value, that they're contributing. Number 5, make sure that the time you have for the meeting is only used to talk about the action points. So often we get sidetracked and we talk about this thing and that thing and get lost in this conversation and we backtrack and talk about that story. If it doesn't have anything to do with the outcomes we're trying to achieve from this meeting, it gets parked. We don't talk about it unless it is linked. We need to be really vigilant with this because this is where meetings go way longer than they need to. I have sat in meetings that should have been done in 15 minutes that we were still there 45 minutes later because people were yapping on about something that wasn't relevant. We need to get really strict with what are we talking about and is it progressing us to the outcomes and the results that we're looking for from this meeting? If it's not part of this conversation. Like we need to be really strong with this because we need to be really strict with our time. Again, making sure that what you are contributing is valuable and making sure that what you're asking people to contribute is valuable towards the results and the outcomes that you're looking for. So important. Doing this will help you to reduce your meetings to 15 to 20 minutes or 45 to 40 minutes, right? We want to make the best use of time. Let's do that. And the last one, before you leave any meeting, make sure that the action points are discussed, agreed, and documented. If anyone is leaving the meeting unsure about what needs to happen next, when it needs to happen, and by who, your meeting has failed. You have not gotten what you've needed out of that meeting. Every meeting needs to finish with clear actions discussed, agreed, and documented. Everybody knows who is responsible for what they need to be doing, and by when they need to be doing it. If there aren't clear action points discussed and agreed and documented out of your meeting, what did you just do for 20 minutes? What did you just do for 40 minutes? Remember, our whole purpose of having a meeting is to make progress towards an action or result. To either make progress towards an action or result or to get a result. That is the whole point of meetings. And if we're not getting that, we need to seriously question what the purpose is of our meetings and whether we're actually getting something out of them at all. So those are the 6 things that if you do these 6 things well, you will run meetings that matter. You will run meetings that people are actually engaged in, that they want to show up for because they are valuable, because they are structured, because they actually get an outcome. They actually progress and move things forward. That's what people want. They want progression. They want things to move. They don't want stagnation and yapping for no reason. So I'll go through those quickly again. Clear agenda. Make sure that the specific points are outlined. Send the agenda out 24 hours ahead so that people have the time to prepare. Make sure that only the correct people are in the meeting. Make sure that the people that you have in the meeting are there to add value. Make sure that everyone in the meeting does add value. No one should be going through a whole meeting saying not one word. Make sure that the time allocated to the meeting actually talks about the action points. This will help you to cut meetings down to 20 or 40 minutes. And then lastly, make sure that every action point is clearly discussed, agreed, and documented. Because without that, what is the point? Now, those are the things to do to have better meetings. And your homework that I would love to encourage you to do is, first of all, audit your calendar. How much time are you actually spending in meetings? And how many of those meetings are meetings where you actually add value, where you need to be involved? And how many meetings don't need you to be involved at all? What meetings can be delegated to a team member as part of their growth plan? As a manager, there are quite a lot of meetings that you are tasked at being at. But if you actually get really honest with yourself, some of those meetings could actually be delegated to a senior member of your team or to someone else in your team who is trying to grow and develop in that space. Can you let go of control to let that happen? What meetings need to be stopped altogether because they don't add any value? They just happen because they've always happened. Can you be brutal and remove yourself from them? And what meetings need to be changed so they can be more effective? Whether they're your own meetings that you need to apply these 6 things with to make them better, or maybe there are other meetings that you attend that actually need to be run better as well. How can you have those conversations to help make that happen? That is the homework that I would love to encourage you to do, because honestly, if you get your meetings under control, if you are more focused with your time, you will have the time to be an exceptional leader. You will have the time to show up for your team, to get your own work done, because you're not spending your whole 40 hours a week in meetings and then trying to get the rest of your job done out of hours. That's not the flex we want it to be. All right. So that is a short, sharp episode on how you can make meetings matter, how you can have more effective meetings that people actually want to engage with. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you've taken away from this and what you're going to work on to make your meetings more effective. As always, I love to hear from you. Message me on Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn. I'm getting back into the old TikTok. I'd love to hear from you. All right, have a great week, and I'll be back in your ears again next week. Hey, that's all from me today. Thank you so much for listening to Lead With Less. It means the world to me if you could take a moment to leave a rating and a review on Apple, or just rate with 5 stars on Spotify. It means a lot to the growth and the expansion of the podcast. And if you know any other people leaders who could do with a dose of inspiration to level up their leadership skills, then please forward on this podcast to them. I would really appreciate it. And as always, if you have any feedback or have any thoughts, please message me on LinkedIn, Instagram, or email. I'd love to hear from you.